It is your Classic Metal Show right here on theclassicmetalshow.com. That's brand new stuff from the Michael Schenker Fest. That one is called Heart and Soul. Name of the record is Resurrection. And on the line right now, resurrecting the Classic Metal Show once again, it is the great Michael Schenker. Michael, how are you, man?
Hi, fine, thank you.
Excellent. Well, Michael, it is great to have you back on the show, as I was telling you off air, and it's great to have brand new music from Michael Schenker and now the Michael Schenker Fest.
Absolutely. And it was a journey to put this all together. It was more fun than work, but it was a handful as well. But of course, you just have to be in, you can't just kind of come up with a master plan, and you can't, force things. So, but you just move forward step by step and hope for the best, and then you get the results.
Sure. Now, Michael, let's talk about this new project, because for fans that don't know, Michael Schenker Fest, the release as well as the live album that you put out last year, is it's a collection. It's almost like a retrospective of your career, because it brings back the main singers that you have worked with in your career. And with the new release is to do new music. So talk a little bit about your decision to bring back so many great vocalists that you've worked with and to create new music kind of with all of them.
Yeah, simply, I just, this is the third stage of my life, and it's basically celebration time. And I can see very clearly that my life is divided in three sections. There was the beginning, the first part of my life when I did my musical contribution to the world unconsciously, and then the black and white guitar marks the second step when I decided, as a 23-year-old in 1978, I had experienced, success at its fullest. And I made the decision that I don't really need that, and that I was full of bubbling creativity, and I needed to get that out of my system. So I decided to create my own band, and look for an unknown singer and do things, more like without any kind of, this has to be ready by then and so on, and just experiment with music, get stuff out of my system, electric instrumental albums, acoustic instrumental albums, and all sorts of weird things that I did, like songs, like making an album was just, it starts and never stops until the end of the CD, and you could actually make like about 10 records out of that. There's so much information on it. So I had to get rid of all of that, and I had to express all of that, and being in a band that holds on to fame and success wouldn't have been the right place. So the middle years are most rewarding. Also, I learned about life, and spent much time in those areas, and then the third part of my life, and then there's even the years when nobody knew where I was, what I was doing, because I was in Arizona. I had my own recording studio, and I just did things by myself. I didn't even do interviews, and so there's probably a lot of people, kind of lost me somewhere, and basically the third stage of my life started in 2008, when I was all of a sudden I wanted to be on stage. I was stage fright all my life, and all of a sudden I had the urge wanting to be on stage, and I took that as a sign to be back in the loop of rock and roll. And so that's really when it started to reconnect with this universe. Obviously, I was somewhere else, and so basically I started to perform my most popular music, from over the years, with other singers, not the originals. I was performing my most popular music with whoever was singing in the band at the time.
Sure.
And the last thing I did, basically, was before I started the Michael Schenker Fest, was of course Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock, which we did, 5 years of touring, and we made 2 live DVD CDs, and we made 2 studio albums. That was with Herman Werbel and Francis Buchholz from the ex-Scorpions Rhythm section, Rock You Like a Hurricane period, and Dougie White and Wayne Findlay. And Dougie White used to be an ex-Rainbow singer, and so we Dougie was singing all my most popular music. He was the singer. That was the latest thing I did. And then we did so much. We went around the world quite a few times and released quite a few things in a short period of time. And so I said, we better take a break. Usually bands who tour so much, they usually take a break by making an album for 3 years. And
Sure.
so I personally just said, let's just kind of get a bit of distance. We just released the live album, Spirit on a Mission, in Madrid. And so that keeps people entertained for a while. And so and everybody agreed, and that was that. And then I kind of something clicked, and I went like, wait a minute, this is basically, at some point you realize that you're in, I started to think this is 2008. I already realized that was the third stage of my life. Because of that incredible change that I all of a sudden wanted to be on stage. And I realized I developed into a different person compared to, how it all started. And so something clicked, and the desire to perform my most popular music with original singers, I kind of felt it was not complete what I was doing, so it was that desire to, or the possibility to have original singers, as many as possible, sing, the most popular music of Michael Schenker, all the areas where I put all my energy into, and so I looked at the 80s as the best, possibility in it, and basically, and so I kind of looked at Gary and Graham and Robin, and decided to let my organization know that that's what I want to do. Can you please ask what they think about it? And they, it was just like they were waiting for it.
Sure.
It was amazing. It was just fantastic to the response that I received, and so I got excited, and I started going like, okay, here we go to the next level. I can do something now that I haven't been done for a long time, but it's something that I actually have never done. I'm going to be working with 3 singers. And so we put the show together. We started off with Sweden Rock. And so one thing led to the next, it wasn't a complete master plan. It was just the next thing, kind of suggested what could be done next. And
Sure.
So it, and never too fast, always in baby steps, and being able to digest what you had just put together and where you were at the moment. And then, we were offered Loud Park, a headline, the third biggest indoor arena in the world, near Tokyo, to headline one of the days, actually the second day. And I asked who was doing the first day, and they said the Scorpions. I said, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And asked, come back to me next year,
right,
and see what happens. And but at the same time, the promoter, my usual promoter in Japan, gave me like 3 shows, and one of them was in Tokyo in a beautiful venue, and I immediately thought Budokan, and Budokan was never filmed, so I didn't even discuss this with anybody. I put my hand in my own pocket, invested it, and hired crew.
Right.
Recording crew, film crew, behind the scene crew, and all the bits and pieces that needed. It was a fantastic show, and I did the edits in Germany, did the mix with Michael Voss in his recording studio in Münstergraven, and then gave it to the record company in acoustic, and and then for the first time, people were able to see the potential around the world. What it really was, rather than looking through the iPhones on YouTube, where you
Right.
can't really understand what's going on. And so here we had a proper version that showed exactly, what the potential of this fest is, and so, and then of course, and then at some point, you think like, well, what shall be done next? And then, I kind of, something popped in my mind, and Michael Schenker Fest in the studio. I envisioned a big table with lots of food on it and having a party in a recording studio.
Right.
Basically, I thought that was a funny idea, and that was actually sparking off that thing. But the DVD also. Got exposed to a lot of record companies, and so I got a lot of offers in.
Sure.
For a studio album, and so basically, Nuclear Blast was the most attractive company that was well established and is worldwide established and has a very, very, very great a reputation,
Sure.
and it's in German-based company, and so my representative is in Germany, and so it kind of I actually hesitated, signing, because I was still feeling quite comfortable with one leg in the machine only, with In Acoustic, a cable company that was selling CDs on the site, and but I kind of at some point I made the decision, because I realized, first of all, I'm not the same Michael as I used to be. I don't need that protection, or I'm actually well protected these days anyway.
Sure.
And but I wasn't in those days. I was on my own, and so it was
Right.
easier for people to get me, to trick me and stuff like that. But anyway, so basically, I realized that. This is a bigger undertaking, This is something that needs a proper support, and I kind of eventually said, like, what, this is a must do, and
Sure.
so I signed up with Nuclear Blast, and then we started, and then it was kind of, oh, take your time, guys, don't worry and don't rush, and then I realized that I already had confirmed to an American tour, and so I kind of discussed it with the company that we should make a schedule, and we decided on by the end of November, so that we could work in steps, making sure that we get something done in order to have enough promotion time between the finish of the recording and the beginning of the tour. And so we did that, and so Michael Voss and I we started, going for it, and I was writing music with an infected cheek throughout the whole record.
Jeez.
It was incredible. I honestly, I had to deal with a infected, jaw, and because I left for rehearsal for Scotland on a weekend, and there was no doctor available, and and I actually, I was writing. I take, when I go to Scotland for rehearsal, I do it in 2 trips, and so I would check in a hotel, and get up at 6 in the morning, start writing, and then and then carry on my journey, and then start writing again, and then arrive in Glasgow, get up at 6, start writing, go to rehearsal, play with the guys, and then go back to the hotel and write some more, and that all with my infected jaw, and eventually I found a doctor, and then I was on my way to Germany to the recording studio, and I still have this infected jaw, and
geez.
throughout the whole recording process, basically, until I did my last guitar. And eventually, even Michael wanted to take pictures for his Facebook. I said, no way. It was so swollen. And so eventually, it was really weird. I finished the record, and eventually the antibiotics worked that I finally got in Germany, and it was just the weirdest thing, But anyway, it was still a hell of a lot of fun, to do it, even though I had to deal with the pain. But it was just an incredible amount of work. But I love doing it, and so and the creative process of it in general, it's just fantastic, And I enjoy every minute of it. And so basically, we carried on getting to work. And the second song that the second piece of music that I wrote, I put out. We made the blueprint. We put out the guide bass, guide vocals. I mean, not by guide vocals, guide keyboards and guide guitars and guide everything, and make sure that the singers knew where the journey goes. If it's a double bass drum thing or a half time or some stuff like that. And so basically, I come in the next day after I put the second piece of music down, and Michael had worked on. He had an idea for this song and had like a melody and lyrics, and I said like, Michael, this is fantastic. This is so perfect, because what I actually wanted, I didn't want just to make a record, 4 singers, 3 songs each, and that's it. I wanted to, have 3 or 4 songs where the singers would share and sing a line each for a song or 2 or 3 or 4 or so. Mm-hmm. And we ended up with 2, and Warrior was that first one. And I was so happy with it, because the song, I love that song. I love the riff, I love the heaviness of it, and I love how the singers sing their lines, and it's just fantastic watching that all develop, and when they were putting down their parts. I mean, it was a combination of joy, fun, and I mean, the jokes it was just unbelievable, It was so entertaining for me just watching that.
Right.
And basically, that was basically I was so happy how that song worked out, and it was one of the first songs done, and so I was even happier about it, because now we had all the time in the world to get this, ready, and to kind of start, getting this piece of music ready to give people an idea of what we are doing, and so we kept working, and Michael Foss, he was, running the extra mile. He's a Michael Schenker fan. He's a 80s fan. He's a MSG fan. He's a Gary Barden fan. He's a Graham Bonnet fan, and he knows. We worked together for the last 8, 9, 10 years or so on. He knows when I express something what I'm talking about, and
right.
He puts his extra magic on top of it. So we work very well together, and especially him being connected to all of these guys in the band, he knows what we're doing, and so he was very valuable in order to actually co-work with us and co-produce. And so he was coming up with melodies and lyrics, and he even wrote like a B plan for Graham Bonnet, because his manager was calling up. I think Graham still thought he had all the time in the world. And, Dougie Whitey took the first 5 songs. I went, you can't have the 5 songs. We have 4 singers, and you can only have 3 songs. I think Dougie is the only one who immediately grabbed what he could grab, but he had to let go of 2 songs. And so Eventually everybody found their songs that they were happy with. And then, of course, the manager of Graham called up and said, like, do you have any other songs, any fast songs and stuff? And so Michael already said, well, don't worry, I have something here for Graham. I can introduce that when I come to LA, when we do the rest of Graham's vocals. And so, Michael went to Los Angeles to finish off Robin and Graham, and he played, what he wrote as a B plan for Graham. And he was so happy and pleased, because it's really beautiful. I mean, it's custom tailored, for Graham, because Michael Foss understands Graham completely. And and the thing is, I didn't write, the music for Graham.
Sure.
I just wrote Michael Schenker music, period.
Right, sure.
But Michael was able to make out of these 2 songs, to write in such a way that in case Graham is not keeping time for the schedule, that he would have a B plan. And it was just amazing how it came across, and the ad-libs or night moods, it's just unbelievable, Mm-hmm. And so it really worked out really well. Everybody had their parts, and then of course we got Kirk involved, and the management paid. Kirk wanted to do the recording in his own studio in Hawaii, and so the management paid, Kirk's management paid for Michael Foss, the co-producer, to fly over there, and then he sent me pictures back where Kirk Hammett looks like a 20-year-old teenager with the biggest smile in his face, and in his Hawaiian outfit. I keep mentioning this because they sent me a picture back, and it's such a, and I think it even appears in one of the special releases with a more extensive,
artwork,
booklet and stuff, and so on. And anyway, it was just kind of funny, and then I heard what Kirk did, and it's quite a bit of guitar playing, because it's a heart and soul, and it starts off with this cello bit, and then it's like vocals, chorus, and then comes the first solo. I play the first one, and then Kirk plays the second one. I play the third one, and then it's vocals again, and then there is the first solo I play, and then the second Kirk, and then the third I play, and then the fourth one Kirk, and then the song finishes. And the first solo Kirk plays, it reminded me so much of Lonesome Crow. When I started playing guitar when I was 15 years old, and I did the first album with the Scorpions, the vibrato I was using. So Kirk must have already been a fan, when of that first album, because that he's actually 10 years younger than me,
right?
And so he must have been 5 when I recorded that record, because I was 15, and so maybe by the time he heard it, I don't know when he started playing guitar, maybe pretty early, but maybe that Lonesome Crow album,
Sure.
had an impact on him, because I think he never changed his vibrato. I think he kept that as his vibrato, because I have changed out of that vibrato, of course, over the years, and it's a completely different. But it was interesting to hear that, to hear my old vibrato.
Right.
Thank you. That he had chose to make his signature, and so basically, it was, Kirk was always. I was told by Peter Mensch, who I used to live with, and he used to, in the AC/DC days, the Black Bell. What was it called? Back in Black,
and
Hell's Bells and stuff like that.
Sure.
And so and then eventually he became Metallica's manager. But he always, Peter Mensch always told me that I am, Kirk's Santa Claus, which basically means I'm his favorite guitarist, and
Sure.
so he always wanted to meet with me, and he wanted to jam with me, and so eventually, but he was always too shy to kind of, approach me direct, and then eventually the Eddie Trunk show, Eddie Trunk and the management and Kirk, they put something together, and so Kirk and I, we jammed together, and then we did an interview together, and talked about, my career and how he, got involved in everything, and how he became, everything we talked about. And then he came to the show a few days later and jammed with us again. And so basically it developed into a friendship. And then, him being in the biggest band in the world, I said, "Hey, Kirk, you want to be part of this?" "Yeah, let's do it." And, and so I think it was a personal achievement for him too. And of course, I'm happy that he did it, because
Sure.
being the guitarist in the biggest band in the world, it's just a fantastic, thing to have, and especially because he is a fan, and he has never done this before. I think he apparently only did this once with his band Exodus,
Right.
and that was it. So. But, there is a few more stories that go with it. Dee Snider was, at some point almost did it, and Apocalyptica, the intro with the cellos, they agreed to do it, but then Michael Foss and I were so carried away with the recording that we forgot to give them instructions, and by the time we remembered, they were already over the hills and far away.
Right.
And then the manager never contacted Dee Snider or whatever. And Dee Snider, when I met him at the Hard Rock Hell Awards, which, by the way, I signed with Nuclear Blast, and they got awarded as best label at the same time I got the Axeman Award.
Wow.
And it was the funniest thing. And Dee Snider turns up and says, And I said, Pete, here you are. We've been looking for you. We had a part for you to sing. What, me singing on your album? That I would have been honored. And UFO, no heavy petting. I had to show my friends, this is music. And when you did the reunion in New York, I came to New York to see a show, and I told my friends, this is what a reunion should look like. And he was screaming in my ear while the music was blasting out of the speakers, and it was the funniest thing. And so anyway, that could have been an additional thing, but I always say also, no fest without a guest.
Right.
So we have the Michael Schenker Fest, so we have to have a guest or more.
Excellent. Well, Michael, wow, that was a lot. Well, excellent, man. Well, I'll tell you what, Michael, because I know you're on a schedule, and what you pretty much answered everything I was going to ask. But let's just do this. Why don't we let the fans hear a little bit of this Resurrection release? We played Heart and Soul, so why don't we wrap this up with you picking a song, your favorite song from the record, and maybe tell us a quick story about it to wrap it up.
Well, let's play The Last Supper, because everybody's singing on it, and it's a great song, and it's a very different to the Heart and Soul song, and the Warrior is already on YouTube, and so sure. It would be great maybe to hear the Last Supper because of the the way everybody participates on that song.
All right, well, let's check it out right now. This is Last Supper. It is Michael Schenker Fest right here on your Classic Metal Show.